Hello world, welcome again. Justin Tucker here, continuing on the video tutorial series about creating a Drupal 7 website that has e-commerce, membership, and registration features. In this video tutorial, what we're going to cover, what we just left off with was talking about custom line item types, and we made our custom line item types that we're going to be engaging with later on. Again, we've not added fields to anything. Same with taxonomies. So let me give you a quick rundown of what taxonomy is, vocabulary, what are terms. If someone would have told me this early on, it would have helped. So you have this idea of vocabulary and terms, at least when it comes to Drupal, okay? The rest of the world of vocabulary simply means category, and terms simply mean subcategory. So we can understand those easy enough. So what I want to do is create new vocabularies or new primary categories of different material or different lists effectively. And here's kind of what I'm going to do. So what I've done here is illustrated this will be a vocabulary and this will be a term, just as this is a category and this will be a subcategory. You might have this idea. Is that how you spell platinum? Anyway, you get the idea. So what we're going to do here is just define some elements that I think the website is going to need later on that deals with categorization. The Drupal taxonomy system is incredibly powerful. You can do tons of things with it, and like I said, these are kind of some things that I think will make sense here. So really what I'm doing, again, how you get to taxonomies is under structure. You go to taxonomy and you get here. Before we add these vocabularies, let me go to content types. So this first taxonomy here, or vocabulary, conference material type, I actually don't have a content type for conference material, so I'm going to create that real quick so that in the future I can add this as a field to that form. The rest of these, though, kind of, if you'll notice, are matching, at least in the very generic way, type, in terms of speaker, sponsor, vendor. These kind of just match the corresponding content type they're going to go with, but let me go ahead and create this new content type. We will call it, well, let's see. I'll keep it generic and call it registration event material. Again, whether you want to call it convention material, conference material, event material, I'll leave that to you. We'll set this up just like we did all the others and just save it for now. Again, we'll be adding fields to all this stuff in later videos. So now we have our new content type. So let's go to taxonomy and add a vocabulary. This process is very straightforward. We are simply filling out a field and hitting save. And we're just going to do this. Now for meal type, we don't have a content type for that, but I do think we might need that later. So registration type, this, yeah, it's generic enough. That's probably going to be used for stuff like early, normal, and late registration. But this could also extend into the idea of packages. So keep that in mind. Actually, shirt size is going to be another one I know we'll need. And this is the exercise. Kind of boring. Hopefully that will be changing here shortly or soon. Again, we're still kind of in what I would call setup phase in terms of just, in my mind, getting everything out on the table you need to start gluing it together. We're going to glue it together with things like views and panels, contextual views, lots of fun stuff. Okay. So here are the buckets of different things I want to have categorized, and inside are actually going to be a list of terms, which I've not added. So we can start with conference material type. And how we can do that is a couple ways. We can click list terms and then click add term there. Back in taxonomy, we can just go to add term, get you to the same place. And one way to do this is to, type your term, and you can hit enter and it adds it. You type term 2, you hit enter and it adds it. You go back to list, and sure enough, there they are. That is a little bit too long for me, so this is why I like the Taxonomy Manager module, and we turned that on in a very earlier video, but that's this guy right here. And if we go in here, we can choose this and just paste in a list or type in a list that we want. It tells you kind of the syntax to use if you want to have subcategories within these categories. So I came up with these. Well, conservation, download, that's actually a little more too specific, but here's a good list, and I actually need to add maybe 2 more taxonomies that I didn't see earlier. We'll leave those off for now. So the different types of conference material I'm thinking might be downloadable material, just a general note, maybe there's something specific we need to tell our users just about this conference or this event, maybe information on meals, for allergies or something like that, and maybe a schedule. Maybe you give them a PDF or something to that effect to be able to see what the schedules are. And so this would give us the mechanism to, in the future, create different displays on the registration event, for example, that could take these different types of entries of conference material and separate them out for the user to see schedule versus general notes versus downloadable stuff. So the nice thing about Taxonomy Manager is we can just grab these and plop them in there and hit add, and there they go. And that saves you from having to enter each one individually. Let's see what else we've got here. Event type. Again, I'm kind of making some of this up here, trying to be generic. This is really where your specific use case or your business model, your annual convention, you can get really specific by changing these values to what they need to be to reflect your needs. But I think, let's just say auction, show, workshop, and board meeting. Okay. Again, the event type, even though it overlaps in concept with a registration event, the idea with a registration event is we're selling tickets for it, where an event type, content type is going to be, well, no, we want this to show on the calendar, but maybe we want to offer the user to say, hey, show me only events on the calendar that are workshops, or show me only when board meetings are. So that's what this taxonomy, or what this vocabulary and the terms we're adding to it, or category and subcategories, that's what this is going to be intended to be used for. So I'll add those to that. Go back, and meal type. Let's see. Again, this can get pretty granular depending on your use case, but I'm going to make it really generic. Maybe say breakfast, maybe say lunch, maybe say dinner. And this will come into play when we're creating different products that we want to select, or give the user the option to select. Do you want a brunch? I'm sorry. Do you want a breakfast, a lunch, or a dinner? Might as well add that option, right? So that will be meal type. I'll go back to the Taxonomy Manager, registration type. I think right now I'm going to say, early bird, normal, and late. Again, you could look at this as the idea of maybe the different, because oftentimes with annual conventions and events like that, there's packages. If you buy a ticket, then that includes a t-shirt, that includes meals, and we need to know all that stuff. So probably the way I'm going to do this to make it the most flexible is, leave that package feature probably as its own content type, maybe. So we'll kind of cross that bridge when we get there, but I think registration type, we're going to keep it generic and probably the most flexible to say, yeah, this will be the mechanism that we can use to tie into early bird, normal, and late registration. So we'll go ahead and add those, or at least that's the plan for now. Shirt size, so well, small, medium, large, extra large, XX large. It's fairly obvious. For shirt type, so this would be for something like a golf or polo shirt, t-shirt, tank top, hoodie, anything like that. And again, you can add more here even if you don't use it, because these are going to be basically tags or terms that WordPress users should be familiar with. That is a common idea on blogs, tagging it with different terms. Well, those are basically categories and subcategories. Same exact idea. So even if you put stuff here and you're not going to use, it's better to have it not need it than to need it and not have it. So we'll just use those for now. Speaker topics, I think this will be really specific to what your use case is. So to me, these would be subjects. So if we were talking about what we do, we might have a website topic about, well, yeah, websites, SEO, security, stuff like that. And again, we're just defining categories. Speaker type. So what would I say? Oh, kind of a, okay, right, silver, gold, platinum kind of a thing, or go bronze, silver, gold. Again, this doesn't have to be, this might actually apply more to vendor type. Speaker type might also take the form of, like PhD, teacher, professor, some categorization like that, as this is the type of quality of content we're going to get from that speaker when they talk. So this is probably pretty open-ended. I'll leave this blank for now. Sponsor type for sure probably has the bronze package, or bronze, silver, gold, because they usually purchase the right to have their material displayed on the website, and depending on how that gets displayed and where usually is dependent upon the type of sponsorship they bought. So this can get obviously a lot more involved than just these three, but it at least will reflect the basic idea of having core packages that translate into some feature for the sponsors who buy it. T-shirt size. Oh, I thought I already did that. Oh, okay. That is a duplicate. We'll get rid of that. And then vendor type. So again, I'll just kind of repeat this idea to reflect the idea of packages. Again, like vendors, they'll buy tables, vendor tables sometimes, and maybe these would be different table sizes or different booth sizes, something along those lines. Or maybe these package terms represent different sizes. So we'll go ahead and save that for now under vendor type. T-shirt size is redundant. I need to delete that. So to do that, to actually delete a vocabulary or a main category, go to Taxonomy, you find the one you need, you hit Edit Vocabulary, and the delete button is inside here. And you go ahead and confirm that. And so here is our vocabularies, and inside each one is the list of terms that, again, we're going to start out with. Like I said earlier, I think this is where a lot of uniqueness of your particular convention can come through in the different types and the different categories that you state here, both in terminology and how they could be used later. So with that said, there's a lot of flexibility here, but there is a little word of caution. So what happens when you make a taxonomy or a category or term or subcategory? These are all going to be given IDs. So if I go to conference material type, this is a vocabulary or a main category. Those are the same thing. And these just have a name, which is going to be the machine name that got created when you created it. However, if you click list, these are the actual terms underneath this vocabulary, or these are the subcategories under this main category, conference material type. Each one of these is given an ID. You'll notice in this URL here that this is known as term 3. All right. Fine and good. Oh, sorry. If I go to schedule and open this up, this is known as term 6. Okay, so here's the deal. You can leave these alone, and if you have any other content that has these values filled out, what the system understands is term 6 and term 3. Okay, you can change the label. The label is absolutely changeable here. You can call this something totally different, but if you delete it, anything that had term 3 assigned to it is going to be what's called orphaned, meaning it will not understand that it belongs to this subcategory any further. So with that said, you are free to use the terms that come with this distribution that I make downloadable, and you can actually start using them. If you want to change the labels or the names in the future, absolutely can do that, no problem at all. But if you delete them and other content depends upon it, you're going to orphan them. So that's the only word of caution I would give you. Be very, very cautious on deleting terms. Be even more cautious on deleting vocabulary, entire vocabularies or main categories, because that will wipe out everything underneath of it. So you can totally leave it the same and relabel it. Now the exception with that is on the actual vocabulary. You'll notice it creates a machine name that it says you can change. I think you can. I don't like to. There used to be a day you couldn't, but I would recommend you not, especially if you have other content relying on it. But you can absolutely change this to something else. Okay, and the machine name, see, this to something else, but the vocabulary machine name is still conference material type. So changing the label on taxonomies is perfectly fine. Deleting them and removing their ID from the system, the term IDs, can be rather disruptive if you have content relying on it. So anyway, that is going to conclude this video of creating the categories on the site. If this felt a little cryptic or you're wondering, gee, where does this fit into everything, you will see soon, because these will actually become fields that we're going to add to the different content types. So obviously we're going to have a field on the vendor called vendor type. so that when we fill out an instant of a vendor, we can understand what type they are, whatever types those happen to be for your use case. So if you enjoy these, please subscribe. If you have comments or feedback, please reach out. Enjoy the communication. Otherwise, that should conclude this video. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.